With over 41,000 deaths so far, the UK is among the countries to have been the hardest hit by COVID-19. Millions of pupils nationwide will head back to school this week. For many, it comes after months staying at home. Our correspondent Ty Genwright has more on the preparations involved.
Schools like the one behind me here, schools across England and Wales, can begin to start reopening on Wednesday of this week. And the guidance includes, well, many of the things that you would expect. Guidance on social distancing, the washing of hands and keeping pupils in small groups or bubbles and avoiding cross-contact between those bubbles. On the question of masks, there are differences across the country. In Scotland, they'll be mandatory for pupils in common areas, but here in England, it'll be largely left up to schools themselves to make those decisions unless the school is in an area where there is a localised lockdown. But one of the big issues right now is that teachers are really angry at when these guidelines were published only on Friday of last week at 7:30 p.m. in the evening, leaving them just a couple of days to make sure that their schools are in compliance before they reopen on Wednesday. And there's a lot of confusion about sudden changes in that guidance too. Schools had been encouraged to prepare for a situation where if a pupil got sick in one of those bubbles, well, then the entire bubble would have to go home and self-isolate for 2 weeks. But that was removed at the very last minute on Friday with no particular guidance as to what to do if a pupil within a bubble does get sick. The Education Secretary saying that staying away from school should be an absolute last resort. And just as pupils, parents and indeed universities are, still mopping up the mess of the state exams debacle, the fact that they didn't happen this year and that many pupils were given predicted grades which they simply weren't happy with and that were indeed downgraded by a computer algorithm. Labour, the opposition party, is now talking about next year's state exams and suggesting they should be delayed from when they're usually held in May until a bit later, perhaps midsummer around July, to give pupils more time to prepare because they've lost so much school time already. Some people saying it's a good idea, but head teachers pointing out that that could throw the university's admission system into disarray yet again next year.